emails here with Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. You can write us, RAD, at radradio.com with questions or just comments like this one from Ernie.
Hi, Ernie.
Says, I feel sorry for Eddie having to dance around all these California ridiculous gun laws and the questions people have to ask, but I love his knowledge.
Aww.
Well, it is kind of his job. Then we got this from Jason. Says, I just wanted to let everyone know how generous Eddie and the NorCal Gun Vault have been. He donates to many causes, including all of the local youth programs. There's not a better shop around.
Oh,
Good for you, man. Hello there, Scott. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering what documents do the children need to go for the hunting safety course, such as school ID or birth certificate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't done the sign up one. I mean, I remember when it's no different from the adults. If you come to the store, I can give you the information, or you can go onto their website.
No, go to the store.
Go
Much
to the
better
store,
to go to NorCal Gun Vault.
And come on into the store. I'll give you the information for their website. They're with a quick phone call. I don't think there's any documentation needed. You just sign up. And you sign up. You take the course. It's like 8 hours online course. Is the time frame, and then you do a 4-hour in class session, and that's what you take the test.
Hello, Mike.
Good morning, anybody.
Hi there.
Morning.
I have a question regarding reloading. I'm an avid hunter, been doing it for years and reloading for years.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any laws currently in place regarding that portion?
Not to my knowledge on the reloading, but I know that's been floated about doing the same thing for bullets and primers. Whether or not they're actually going to go through with it, I'm not sure. But as far as I know right now, there are no reloading restrictions or requirements for that.
Email us, RAD at radradio.com. A lot of questions about the ammo thing. D wrote in and said, is there a law enforcement exemption for purchasing ammo? You were talking about the $19, the $1 back check and such. Is there an exemption for law enforcement?
There is not for buying personal ammo. If you're buying it on behalf of the department, you can bring in a letter from the department chief saying that you are buying on behalf of the department, and that's an exemption.
But for your personal gun, if it's a different gun.
Yeah, they go through the same thing we do.
Tim says, as a hunter, we have to use non-lead ammo to hunt with. My question is, if I am out target practicing, do I still need to use non-lead ammo?
No, you can still use lead ammo for target practicing. You just need to make sure when you're out hunting that you have copper ammo. And if you have a sidearm, it has to have all copper ammo too. And if you have self-defense ammo, you can have it in your vehicle in a locked case, but you can't have access to it while you're hunting.
Half of Eddie's appearances on the show are being a lawyer with some of these questions. And here's another one from Michael.
Hi, Michael.
He says, I'm a Nevada resident. I'll be hunting in California this weekend. I want to legally transport my handgun into California. I know the rules on how to transport the gun. My question is, once I'm in camp, can I take my gun out of its locked box, loaded, and have it in camp? I'm worried about what the California Fish and Game Wardens would do if they found my handgun.
That's a good question. I haven't had to broach that one yet. And again, with the out-of-state hunter thing, especially with the ammo, that's come up a lot, but I haven't really broached the and again, the problem is it's CCW, California is not reciprocating with anybody, so
right.
It does pose some issues, but if you're on federal land, you can open carry. If you're on Bureau of Land Management land, you can open carry, so it's just it's kind of a risk, but I don't know about the odds of.
It's worth calling California Fish and Game and finding out.
Or give me a call at the store and I'll see if I can find out.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm sorry. I used to live in New Hampshire, and I legally purchased a .22 rifle in New Hampshire. I traveled with it unloaded in a locked box across country into California, and obviously now I'm a California resident. My question is, do I have to register the gun, or what kind of restrictions do I have on purchasing ammo?
So it's not going to be registered in California, so obviously you won't have the $1. You won't be able to do the $1 check, but you can't. How long have you been in California?
About a year now.
That might be too long. So that you can, and a lot of people don't know, but if you bring a firearm into the state and you're becoming a resident, I think it's you got to have a 6-month window, but it could be longer. And again, I'll look into this some more and I'll get Rob the answer back later. But there's a time window on when you can declare it, and all you do is you declare it, and then it goes onto the database. If you come into the store, we have a way to help you get it onto the database if you want to bring it into the store, but it'll cost you 30 days.
But what if somebody's listening right now and they've lived here 3 years and they moved from Arizona and they brought their guns in, and people get busy, we forget the driver's license and things like that. They've lived here for 3 years, they have guns from Arizona. What do they do? Is there anything they can do? Are they supposed to forfeit them, or what are they?
No, you wouldn't forfeit them, but I mean, again, you just want to get them into your name in the state, especially if you're going to stay here. And there's if somebody brings in a gun for consignment, and we have to hold it for 30 days, it's a pawn store law. It's kind of an anti-fencing law, and so we can hold that firearm for 30 days, and then if they decide they want it back, they have to redrose it, but they can redrose it as an exempt handgun, and then it's in their name. So, and the same thing can happen if you're trying to get a gun on your CCW and you've never registered it because your dad gave it to you. We can do the same thing so that it becomes registered in your name. There's just kind of no easy way to do it at the time frame. I mean, if your dad gave it to you, it's intrafamilial, but sometimes there's a long time involved. So.
It's crazy how much things have changed because God, Rob, when was it when somebody tried to break in my apartment? 2001?
18 years ago
or 1999? I mean, yeah. And so the gun that was purchased for me was in Nevada, and brought it here, and I didn't even think about it. And then finally, I don't even know. I mean, time went by, and I was like, oh, I should probably have this registered. They didn't even ask. Right. I just brought it to the gun store, and they're like, okay. And I had to take the test, and obviously they had to keep it. So, wow, I was just, as you were talking, I was like, oh my God, now you have to know how long you've had it.
We got this question from Will.
Hey, Will.
It says, I suffer from bipolar disorder. However, I am medicated and I have never had a psychotic event, nor have I ever attempted suicide. How does this impact my ability to buy a pistol?
I don't believe that I think due to HIPAA regulations, that medical stuff doesn't cross over unless there's an event that red flags you in the system. There's nowhere way of them to know that you're bipolar if it's never caused an incident. So
we got this from Jonathan. Says, I have an AR that isn't California compliant after the new laws passed. I was just wondering, what do I have to do to make it compliant under new laws? He lists a few things he's done, but if you have an AR, what can be done?
There's 4 options. I always say you can take it apart because parts are parts. So you take it apart, you put it in separate places so it's not easily put back together.
They can't use it ever.
They can't use it. Because the assault weapon registration is long since gone. So then you can make it featureless, which is putting a fixed buttstock, fin grip, or some other type of non-pistol grip, taking off any vertical pistol grips on the front, and replacing your flash hider with a compensator, or you put on what we call a fixed magazine compliance device. And there's a couple that we have in the store that you can come in and basically it turns your semi-automatic into a fixed magazine until you separate the upper lower, and then you can drop the magazine and resume. And the fourth mag is just to move to Nevada.
We got this. This one's. We mentioned it's hunting season. Now I warn you, it is an email from a Brian.
Oh no, hi Brian.
He says, how do you get a hunting license if you haven't hunted in years?
You just take the hunter safety course.
Take the
hunter safety course. Go over to
typical Brian.
Brian.
I thought it was that simple, but I just wanted to clarify.
If I haven't taken the test, do I take the test again?
No, really, this is a safe place.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. This is not how you'll be treated at NorCal Gun Vault.
No.
We're adding in the sardonic entertainment. Hello there, Carl. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, I just wanted to know the current laws on the AR pistol. Last time I was in the shop, I was only able to find it as a bolt action as opposed to semi-automatic, so I wanted to know if there was any way around that.
So the AR pistols, to buy them new, there's only one that's on roster because it has to be on the roster just like every other pistol. And there's only one manufacturer making one that's on roster, and that's Franklin Armory. But you can't buy just the lower. You buy the pistol in it's a detachable magazine, single action, because there's no gas tube, no recoil system. You have to rack it back yourself every time. Once you own the pistol, once you buy it and it's registered as a pistol, you can convert it to semi-auto, but it has to be Cal compliant and it can't be featureless because you can't make a pistol featureless. You can only do the cal compliance devices.
Do you just spend like half your day reading to try to keep up with all this stuff?
Man, no, that's a lot of knowledge you have.
This is from Jenny. Says, I have a Ruger P90 for 20 years. I don't use it very often, but for the first 10 years it worked flawlessly. Now it jams all the time. Should I take it to a gunsmith? Should I send it back to Ruger? What? After 20 years? Or sell it and get a new one?
There's right. You probably want to take it to a gunsmith. I mean, it's one of these things where you really kind of want to see it fire, but it could be the extractor. It could just be dirty. It could be magazines. There's quite a few things that can cause it to jam, especially if it's older.
That's what I want. I want the person on the other end answering the phone. Okay, you've had it for 20 years,
I just want the
now
letter.
you're dissatisfied.
She's just going to send it back. Dear Ruger, I've had this for 20 years. It jams now. Send me my money. We got
it hasn't worked out.
From Sarah. Says, I have a question for Eddie. We've been using a 22 in our small farm for several years. For the most part, it works well, but occasionally we have a problem with an especially thick skull plate, like the goats and sheep. Just last week, when slaughtering a goat, a ricochet managed to hit me in the shoulder.
Ow.
That kind of freaked me out, and I need to find another option. Do you know anything about captive bolt guns, and do you carry them? And if not, what is a better option as a gun for slaughtering livestock with thick skulls?
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
I mean, there's 17 HMRs, another round that's used for varminting. It's basically like a really small 223 round, but I don't know if there's any pistols. You'd have to use it in a rifle, and we have those in the city.
We got this from Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
I love this. Our listeners bring you some good questions. Here's the basic. We get a lot of questions like this. He says, I'm soon to be moving into an apartment. I need a gun for protection. Our budget is real low, $200 to $400, and we're looking for a handgun. Any recommendations, brands? I know we need to come in, and we will at some point. Other people just asking, what's a good beginner handgun under $400? Are we in the ballpark?
There's only a couple that I would recommend. I mean, we have handguns down as low as $189, but I mean, that would be basic. I would say that's, the single mother living in an apartment with a child, and, the boyfriend or husband is causing issues. They're not in the picture, and you just need something that goes bang if you get into a jam. But I mean, we've got, I think, one, maybe two under $400 that would work. The rest all basically your $500 to $700 is your typical range for those.
And that's the gun. In terms of getting out of your store, for somebody who's never purchased a gun and they want a good handgun for protection, you say $500 to $700, but I mean, out the door, is it more like $600 to $800 when you start adding in ammo and background checks and all that others? Just so people have a
probably going to add $100. So I mean, whatever your cost plus $100, because you got the $25 fee, you got tax, and then it's 7.25% in Rockland. So you can do the math in your head to figure out how much extra plus the ammo.
And good for you, by the way, for being so candid about it. So many businesses, it varies. Just come in.
And then once they know they have you in there, they'll just get you and guilt you.
Hello there, John. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Rad.
Hey.
So there goes the fire truck. I've been to NorCal Gun Vault. You guys are amazing. I got in trouble about 11 years ago. Dumb, young and dumb. Brandishing a firearm charge. Waited my 10-year. It was a misdemeanor. It was a 10-year mandatory prohibition, waited my 10 years, tried to purchase a firearm, came back as prohibited. I did my live scan and all the stuff that I was told to do. Do you have a recommendation for a local Second Amendment attorney? I was told it was a probationary deal, that after the 10 years it would just fall off and I would be good to go. That's not the case because I'm still prohibited.
There's one gentleman that comes in quite a bit that may have, he's pretty firearms knowledgeable, so I don't know if he's the Second Amendment guy, but if you come in, I can give you his name and you can give him a call and see if he's willing to talk to you about it.
He is a lawyer, though, at least.
He is a lawyer,
okay,
yeah.
Great. Yes. So go see Eddie. Tell him you called the show, and he'll give you that information. We don't put him on blast here on the radio. All right, we got this question from No Name.
Hi, No Name.
Says, I was arrested in 2009 for a domestic, but not convicted. Can I purchase a gun?
I don't know.
Arrested?
That's good. Yeah, it's one of these arrested but not convicted.
10 years?
I don't know how that tags your record, but I'd have to do some calling in on that because it runs into that gray area. If there's an incident, it gets reported. If you're not convicted, how does that stay in the system? So I'd have to check on that.
We got this from Jeff, RAD@radradio.com, says, should a compact concealed carry 9mm be a heavier gun to counter the recoil for more control?
You're going to I mean, it's just that's going to be where your proficiency comes into play. You're just going to have to use it and learn to control the recoil yourself.
I appreciate your patience with some of these. Hello, Javier. Good morning.
Hi, yes, I have a quick question for Eddie. I'm a bartender, and I work very late hours, and I always leave with large sums of cash. And I'm trying to look into getting a concealed carry. How would I go about that?
The concealed carry is controlled by the county you live in. So for say Sacramento and San Joaquin counties, I know it's a 16-hour course, so it takes over 2 days. For Placer County, it's an 8 hours course. I know for Placer, it's about $320 for total for the class, the live scan, the application fees. It runs about $320 in Placer. It runs more in Sacramento because the class is more expensive, but you're probably looking at $300 to $500. But in Sacramento, they have less people doing the investigations for a lot of people, so it takes about 6 to 7 months before you get your interview. In Placer, it's a little bit quicker. So it's county by county, but
And there is no guarantee you're going to be given a CCW in any of these counties.
no, I mean it's strictly up to the people doing the interviews in your record.
So hope nothing happens in 6 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Jesus God.
Although you know what we haven't mentioned
Good
though, and now's a
Lord.
good opportunity to mention it. In the interim, not only for him but other people, you also you have a variety of non-lethal options at NorCal Gun Vault as well. Things
Right.
that are legal to carry around, tasers, things like that.
Sure.
And that's a good place to start for a little bit of peace of mind. Hello there, Joe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Nevada resident. And my question is, when we do big competitions, like I do 3-gun competitions and stuff like that, how does it work to a Nevada resident to bring in the gun, the ammo, and stuff like that?
So what you would do, see, again, that's one of the things. That is one of the, I believe one of the cases that's going before the courts is competition shooters and having that happen because you get these competitions from out of state. I do know that if you are coming in for a competition and you're going to a competition area, sports, you can bring the ammo in with you for that. It's not the same for hunters because it's not a sporting area, but if you're going to an event and a venue that is putting on a match, you can bring ammo with you and use it there from out of state. You just can't do anything else with it, basically.
Email us rad@radradio.com. Here's a very specific one from Sterling.
Hi, Sterling.
Says, I've been into NorCal Gun Vault. I liked the Bursa Firestorm and the CZ 9mm you had. My question is, which do you think is built better? The prices are similar, feel is great on both, but this is my first handgun, and I just simply don't know enough, and it keeps me from, no pun intended, pulling the trigger.
In my opinion, again, and that's all I can say, but it's my opinion the CZ is a better build
And
a better shooter.
By the way, you could just ask when you're there, and you guys will give opinions like that,
Sure,
and you
sure.
know things like that. This is an odd one, a very specific one. No name on this.
Hey,
We're
person.
So we're talking about the ammo laws here in California, and you have to go through the check to be able to buy ammo, and you have to, if you don't have a gun, then like if you don't own one, then you have to do the $19 check, and that's like a full background check basically. Okay, so she says, what if I wanted to buy a big assortment of random bullets for an art project?
Oh wow, how cool!
That is cool.
Oh my God, I love it. Because you know what, I've
You'd have to go through the $19 check.
And
you do? No.
And then you could buy an assortment. It doesn't matter. You go 22,
Yeah.
9. Okay.
I haven't had
you'll
that happen yet, but yeah.
You'll see that gun art.
Yeah, right, right.
It's like
Well, there's a lot of people
awesome,
that buy the casings and stuff for jewelry. The previous owner of the store, his wife makes custom jewelry out of bullets and casings
Wow.
and things like that.
Well, that's cool.
Obviously nothing live, but but she does that, and so but you can use spent casings for that. And if she's looking for spent casings, she may go to some places like some of these ranges and find out if they're willing to sell her some spent casings because after so many reloads, they can't use them.
Christmas lights, we have some with the shotgun shells. I mean, someone made it, obviously. Yeah.
Hi there, Tanya. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
I am a California resident and a medical cannabis patient. And what are my rights with my existing guns as far as if there's an incident or a wildlife, incident, or what are my rights with purchasing new firearms?
So, while California is okay with cannabis use, the federal still isn't. And because in the store we have to serve two masters, we have the state regulations and ATF trumps on this. So on the Form 4473, you're going to be asked, are you a user? You're going to be required to answer yes, and at that point, it prohibits you from buying a new firearm. As far as the ones you already own, that's a good question. I can try and find out the answer.
And we get that a lot. That's a hard one for people to wrap their head around, especially since recreational use now is legal in California.
Right.
And so you get that form, and they say, "Are you a user?" And you go, "Oh yeah, of course. What's the big deal?" Well, federally, no gun for you.
Right.
Email us rad@radradio.com. This is from No Name.
Hi, No Name.
Says, I am not a U.S. citizen, but I am a permanent resident with a green card. What are the restrictions, if any, on purchasing a handgun?
I know hunting rifles, it's okay. I think if you have an I-9 form, there are forms you can have if you're here permanently to purchase. Yeah, we've had people who are on green cards purchase handguns, so it's possible.
Hello, Bruce.
Good morning. I'm calling because I was denied a CCW permit because of something like the previous caller happened when I was a young kid. And so I was denied, but I still feel that I need to be able to protect myself when I'm out and about and out with my family. Where do I find information on the laws on how I can maybe keep a gun in my vehicle, obviously not on my person, concealed, but how can I transport a gun legally, have it with me in case I need it without running into confrontations with the law? I haven't been able to find anything online that's very clear.
You have to lock it into a lockbox in your car. It has to be locked, and the box has to be attached to the frame. So a lot of the smaller locks will have a steel cable that goes into that. You loop it around the frame of your seat. You put it into the lockbox. You lock it up, and that's the legal way to transport. That's also a legal way to have it in your vehicle with you. If you want something on your person, there's like the Taser Pulse. That's a non-lethal, but it is enough to stop an attacker and gives you some protection when you're not able to carry.
Got this question from Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Says, I'm a recreational target shooter, and I'm looking at branching out into trap shooting, looking to spend $400 to $500 on a 12-gauge pump action. Any suggestions? Going to NorCal Gun Vault.
Yeah, we have quite a few there. I mean, in the $4,500 range, if you want to get into trap, we've got some really good stuff over there for that.
It's a shop worth going into just to look at all the great stuff and all the great people that work there. Family, and your brother's still there, right? Everything.
Yep.
By the way, I refer a lot to, it's not every single person that works there is former law enforcement or military, but a lot of you are, and they're all so knowledgeable and so nice. You guys do a great job. Thank you so much for being here, Eddie. You're always a very popular guest. We're going to have you back soon.
Sure.
That's Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. Thank you all. We'll be back after this.